Hey guys, Ghost here, welcome back to the channel. Today we've got some more Battlefield 6 info to go over that has been data mined from the most recent Battlefield Labs build. So we have much more info on the game modes we're going to be getting, but also some of the descriptions as to how they are going to work. A lot of information on the attachment system, how much stat weight each attachment has, because basically the way it's going to work in BF6 is you have 100 points to a weapon, and depending on the attachment, that is going to have a different amount of points that it takes to equip on the gun. So, without further ado, if you guys enjoy the content here on the channel, make sure you're subbed up to keep up to date with everything Battlefield. You can also follow me on Twitch. Sometimes I'm streaming over there, or indeed chatting shit on X, so feel free. As always, thank you guys for supporting me. We're closing in on 60,000 subscribers, and if you haven't subscribed yet, it would mean the world, so thank you guys so much for that. Alright, enough of that, let's get into the game modes here. So these are all coming from Vanik, who has kind of become like the main data miner really, ever since Temporal sort of hung up his pickaxe. And first of all, we have the regular multiplayer modes. So we've got Conquest and Conquest Small, Breakthrough, Rush, TDM, Squad Deathmatch, Domination. We all know what those are. Then we've got Sabotage, and it says here, when attacking, sabotage as many enemy assets as possible. When defending, prevent the enemy from destroying your assets. So that sounds rather intriguing. Obviously, the game is going to feature a lot of destruction, so presumably like the enemy team actually are able to destroy something that you have here via maybe like tanks, RPGs, that sort of stuff, and you've got to try and defend that. On the other hand, it could just be like you run over to the thing, click a button, and it sets off an explosive and you destroy it in that way. Not exactly sure, but that sounds pretty interesting. Then we have Escalation or Raid. Fight to capture and hold objectives to extend your territory. The first team to lock down 3 objectives wins. Then Strike Point, fight across multiple rounds to capture a key objective. Then we've got Payload, this is probably going to be familiar. Fight to escort a payload the furthest and fastest, or stop the enemy in their tracks. Actually interesting, there was a fan-made Payload game in Portal in Battlefield 2042, so I do wonder if DICE took a little bit of inspiration there. And then King of the Hill, pretty self-explanatory, maintain control of the marked areas to earn points. The first team to reach the target score wins. And we have, of course, recently seen King of the Hill featured as a limited time mode in Battlefield 2042. So I've long speculated that, you know, perhaps what they're doing in 2042 is using it as a test bed for features or possible features in the next Battlefield game. And it looks like maybe that is one of them that has come through there. Then we've got some additional modes here. So he says this is incomplete data and it's like a prototype status. So there's no guarantee, remember guys, that any of this stuff is going to be in the game. Even the ones I've already mentioned, like maybe Conquest's not in there. I don't know. Of course, Conquest's going to be in there, but you know what I'm saying, right? They are leaks. So we've got Shutdown, Tank Hunt, which sort of sounds like tank superiority maybe, Crimson, whatever that is, Gunmaster, of course, we all know that one, Touchdown, Tug of War, Fantastic Four / Survive. That sounds very un-Battlefield-like. I mean, Fantastic Four, what is that all about? And then Squad Shootout. So no solid information on those, and maybe a lot of them are just works in progress or things that DICE happen to be trying. They left them in the files, and that's why they've been data mined, so I wouldn't really read too much into these. And then, of course, we have one of, I would say, like the main new experiences coming outside of the Battle Royale, that is, and it's called Gauntlet, and it says battle to complete a series of missions. Squads with the lowest scores in each missions are eliminated. The last squad standing wins, so you've got solo, duo, trio, and then squad like queuing, and it's available on the Battle Royale map, and it's set in California. So these are essentially like mini games, and the sort of format, the tournament format, if you will, sounds similar to the finals, where every time a round finishes, the bottom squads or the bottom players are going to get kicked out, and the remaining squad or team ends up winning the thing. And these are some of the available Gauntlet mission types that we have. So we've got Circuit, Contract, Deadlock, Decryption, Extraction, Heist, Hotwire, Relay, and Rodeo, and then Swarm, Territory, Vendetta, and Wreckage. So that list, I believe, has certainly grown since the last time I did a video on this. I'm going to link another one below because I did go a little bit more in depth into each one of these game modes and what I think they're going to be about. It's almost like drawing a little bit of inspiration from, you guys remember the first Warzone when you had the Gulag and you had a chance to come back and it was like this mini little arena where you had a 1 versus 1 with another player. It almost sounds like that, only with more squads, but maybe you're going to be pitched up against like Squad B and then Squad C fights Squad D. I don't exactly know how it's going to work out, but I am extremely curious to find out. Okay, moving on from that, one of the biggest changes to the latest Battlefield Labs build, outside of the fact that they were of course playing on a new map and there were jets and there were helicopters, is that they added weapon customization in. They added in the attachments, and as I mentioned at the start of the video, the way it works is you have 100 points to a weapon, at the moment at least. I'm sure these values are going to change, and that's all you've got, right? So if an attachment takes 20 points, you've only got 80 points left. Now, this information is coming out of Sorrow, and he is really like the biggest attachment and weapon stat nerd that I know in Battlefield 2042, and I mean that in the most affectionate way. He has a really in-depth spreadsheet called Sorrow's Scribbles, where he has every single stat for every weapon and attachment in Battlefield 2042 detailed. I'm going to link that down below as well, because if you play 2042, it is a really great resource to have at hand. And so here is some information on all of the attachments and just how many points they are going to be worth, or how many points they're going to require. So for muzzle attachments here, we've got muzzle brakes and flash hiders. They're going to range from around 10 to 30 points. The 4 different suppressors are going to be anywhere from 20, 25, or 30 points. Then for the barrels, the basic barrel will cost you 10, the extended and the short barrel will cost you 15, and then the lightweight barrel is actually going to be the most expensive. And as he states here, no idea what this does. There are no stat changes shown, and there are no descriptions for anything yet. I would have assumed a faster ADS time, for example, but apparently it's not that. It could also just be that the menus are not displaying it yet, and the extended and the short only show velocity difference, but not a rate of fire or anything else. And then for lasers, we've got different types of lasers, and they will range from 10, 20, or 30 points. So interestingly enough, there, it sounds like the lasers are actually going to really affect your weapon, because they are worth different points here. Normally you stick a laser on the gun, and it's like an aesthetic thing, right? You've got a purple, or a blue, or a red, or whatever. Then for scopes, if you stay with the iron sight, that is only going to cost you 5 points. So you can definitely save some points there. There are different scope zoom levels, so we've got, of course, 1 times, 1.25, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those all cost 10 points. So you're only really saving yourself 5 points by going with the iron sight there over a scope. Snipers get the 8 times and the 10 times, and those also apparently cost 10 points. More switchables cost 25, and a 6-time thermal also costs 25 points as well. So for example, the LPVO switchable zoom scope, that one's going to be 25 points. Doesn't say what the zoom levels are though. And then the 2 different thermals, we've got a 1 times 5 zoom thermal, that's 15, and the 3 times is 25. For bullet types here, the full metal jacket and the tungsten are going to be 5 points, polymer and hollow are 10 points, and then frangible and ballistic are 20 points. I believe the frangible ones, maybe some weapon nerds can comment down below and let me know about this, but I think they sort of like explode and splinter off into many shards, and the ballistic ones are for like armor piercing essentially. So that kind of makes sense why they would be a little bit more expensive. So interesting little tidbit here, the default headshot multiplier for ARs and carbines, which traditionally in Battlefield I believe has been up at around like just shy of 2 times, like maybe like 1.7 or 1.8, it is actually 1.35. But if you take the hollow point ammo, that increases to 1.7, and then if you take ballistic ammo, it goes up to a massive 2.1 times. So that is why the ballistic ammo takes so much of your points. Now, magazine types, they differ highly depending on the weapon class. So he said he can't really compile this right now, but it does look like there is a fast mag option, although that cost is exactly the same as the default on every gun. So that is just a straight upgrade that is probably like going to be one of the early unlocks on anything, he assumes. So there are also smaller mag choices that have a faster ADS timing and obviously a quicker reload as well, and they can range anywhere from 5 all the way up to 55 points on LMGs and DMRs. So 55 points out of 100 just for the magazine. That's pretty steep. There's also a magwell modification that you can make here, and he says these only increase reload speed from what I saw. They come in different sizes, and costs range from 5 to 10 points. Having none equipped costs 0, so that sounds like it's just going to be like a small buff to your reload speed without actually changing the magazine. For the grips, there are a shit ton of these, man, so they cost from 10 all the way up to 45. You know, we're not going to get in depth about all the grips there, but again, 45 points just for a grip? Like, what is that grip doing to your weapon for it to take almost half of the quota? That's got to be impressive. And then it says there are also at least 3 grips that have one of those integrated bipod thingies. So it's like 2, you know, legs that come out in an upside down V, and you can plant it, you know, on the wall. They're just sort of hidden inside of the grip, I suppose. For flashlights, he said only saw 2 and they cost 10 and 15, and then the rangefinder costs 10. And then some other observations he has here as well. He says there are now tier icons on each gun, so just like 2042 with the different shapes and colours and probably badges and all that kind of stuff. We've of course already seen some of these badges data mined. Then on the shotgun, the basic mag actually costs 10 points, but you could take a smaller one with 2 less rounds that costs 5, and then you also get a faster ADS time, so that makes for an interesting balance choice. And then finally here, pistols only get 60 points to fill up with, not the whole 100 that the primary weapons get. And with the right setup, you could create a 2 headshot kill pistol. Highest magnification on it is 1.5 times though, and you also do not get access to the thermal so far. So obviously all of the attachments are super placeholder right now, especially when it comes to the values. I think they're going to have to do a lot of balancing in that regard. This has only been the very first test that has shown us these attachments and the various values associated with them. So I'm willing to bet that in the Battlefield Labs Discord, they've gotten a ton of feedback on it, and they are going to be changing these values and also the stat values of the attachments a lot over the next few months. So as always guys, let me know what you think about all the attachments, let me know what you think about the game mode, what do you think about Battlefield 6 in general? Are you quietly getting excited for the game? Are you still apprehensive? If you want to know what I think DICE finally have a shot at making a good Battlefield game, and honestly the bar is not really even that high. Like, they don't need to even make a 10 out of 10 game. A 7 or 8 Battlefield game would still probably knock it out of the park, I think. Now, from what I've seen, I think the sound design is the main thing that has, like, I would say the only thing where I've gone, whoa, like, that looks, or sounds in this case, really, really good. Everything else seems fine. I haven't played it, obviously, so I'm only able to judge what I've seen in the leaks. Maybe once I jump in, I'll have a bit of a better impression. But I really hope they do just put in the work. It looks quite unfinished at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised at all if the game launches in 2026 instead of later on this year in 2025. And truthfully, I think that will probably be the best thing for the game. The more time that they can give it, the better product we're going to get in our hands at the end of the day. So leave me your thoughts below, guys. Subscribe for more Battlefield, and I'll see you all in the next video.